Hello, YouTube world. My friends, family, colleagues, viewers, and most of all, my subscribers. I would like to say welcome back to Rebirth. Now, in my last video, I touched on some things about how we should take our medication and things like that, how you should read the label. And the one previous from that, I talked about the mental health that we're dealing with, mental health crises. Since then, I received a message from an alumni, and she was very pleased on the information she received about mental health and asked me will I touch on that subject again. So here we are. Without further ado, I am Robert Williams, your host, and we are going to dive into this one. We're going to talk about today emotional stress that can lead to suicide and ways that we can deal with this. Now, emotional duress, emotional stress, imbalanced emotions, everything that goes into that basket that deals with people that have unsettled emotions and cannot control them, and they're just really, everything is just imbalanced and just out of whack. And we know that, first of all, there was a lot of issues, people all over the United States and even globally, dealing with their own set of problems, dealing with everything that's going on in life itself. And then the coronavirus that came and stayed for a while is still here, bringing extra added pressure and weight down on everyone. You're talking about loss of jobs. You're talking about health disparities. You're talking about people that are just in limbo, if you will, trying to figure it out. And all of that can lead to depression, can lead to emotional instability. It can push people to a stressful nature to the point where they just say, hey, listen, I can't deal with this anymore. So why don't we talk about that? So from the beginning of 2019 up to the end of 2019, we had the National Institute for Mental Health. They went out and they did their assessments. You also have Mental Health America National. They did theirs. So when they're out doing these research and they're out trying to get this data up, they're trying to find out what are we dealing with. And we're talking about the people itself and how many we have, what are they going through, and what area or category do we place them in when we talk about health. Now, here's some numbers I think that we all need to pay attention to. The past year, and we're talking about 2019 and not 2020. I know this 2021, but 2019, I want to start there. Past year prevalence, AMI, any mental illness. That's what AMI stands for. Among the U.S. adults in America in 2019. Here's our numbers. We're going to look at 4 categories, and we're talking about ethnicity. The 4 ethnic categories: white America, African American, Hispanic American, and Asian Americans. Okay? Where do each one of these ethnic groups, where do they fall as far as having mental illness in America? So, according to the research that Mental Health America did, what we're looking at is 22% of all white Americans in the U.S. are suffering from some type of mental illness. and it drops to 18% for Hispanic Americans. All the Hispanic Americans that are dealing with some type of mental illness. Then we come down to the African American community. In America, 17.3% of all African Americans are dealing with some type of mental illness. And last but not least, Asian Americans. They fall at 14.4%. And this is all Asian Americans that are in the U.S. suffering from mental illness. And this is in the millions. The percentages is just telling you how much percentage of the total group number. This is type of percentage, and these percentages leads to millions. There was also a research that was done by Linlin Yan, and she did this research this year in 2021, and what she was looking for was, why are we having so much emotional stress? Okay? So she was looking at that, and what she found was, think about all these people out of work. Think about all these people are not accustomed to being out of work. What do? They normally doing what they normally do at work, but now they're not there. They fall into what she called boredom. And when they get bored, she was stating in her work, in her piece of work, in her writing, in her research, she was saying that emotional stress can easily come from boredom, which is easily defined as a state that relates to low arousal, which these dissatisfaction due to perceived uniformity and repetition. So people have nothing to do. And they're used to getting up in the mornings, or getting up, and some people mid shift, some people late shift. They get up at the time they normally do and they go to work. They have their little routines on what they do before they go to work. You see, all of this has been thrown out the window by the coronavirus. And because of that, now we're dealing with a lot of people with emotional issues. And she talked about the proneness of this. And she's stating that this is the liability to suffer from or experience something regrettable or unwelcome. So she's saying that the proneness to all of this is even there. If you are going through the same emotional setback, disturbance, or imbalance that everyone else is dealing with due to the coronavirus, due to life, all that's compound, is grouped together now. More than likely, you're going to suffer, you're going to be a liability to suffer from the experience, to where you're going to go and do something that you're going to regret later. There's a possibility. You see, because of boredom. And that's basically how she was putting that into light. It was also stated that the perceived stress reflects globally and not just in this country. It's a global stress. So this stress factor has reached out, and we see this. We see this with all the social unrest that's going on right now all over the country and outside of the country globally. We're suffering from a lot of emotional unrest, even with young people trying to deal with education, because the dynamics and the paradigm has shifted now, because now you're taking classes at home when you're doing it remotely, when you've been accustomed to going to the classroom. You don't have that access to raise your hand and ask that teacher the question and get that feedback immediately. All of these are compound stressors, and they're just coming down on people right now. And then we look at our students, and we're finding that it is affecting them. Okay, it's affecting young people all over the world. That haven't faced this thing that we're dealing with right now. It's also stressing out the adults right now. Right now, you got people that is unsettled in their homes. It's a big change when you're used to seeing a family member, in passing in the morning, and then you won't see them again until later on in the evening. Now you're seeing them all the time. You're seeing them all the time, and a lot of people, this stress thing and it's like, I need my space. I need to get out of here. I need to go do this. I need to go do that. So a lot of people are wrestling with that, and it's difficult. It's very difficult. So when you talk about the global subjective, the evaluation of the stress level experienced by individuals to an objective event and their subjective appraisal to it. How do you see it, basically? How do you perceive this change, this stress, this thing that's impacting your life right now? And this is what they're dealing with. And they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to wrap their minds around it. See, when you look at stressor appraisals, results in a series of emotional distress reactions when individuals assess that they have no control or inadequate resources to deal with the challenges that they are faced with. So here come all this stuff coming at you at warp speed due to the changes that's going on around you because of, we're talking about a pandemic, we're talking about how it changes education, we talk about how it changes your work life, we talk about how it changes your family life, all this stuff coming at you at one time. Now you got to say, how do I deal with this? Now it's make you feel like you're losing control. So what do you do next? Because you're challenged with all this and you feel like you don't have the adequate resources to deal with it. And it goes on to say that numerous research and evidence has linked high perceived stress not only to emotional disturbances such as anxiety, depression, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, but also the adverse physical effects, including the high risk of cardiovascular disease and even stroke. And I even throw cancer in there. Because if you're going through all this right now, and then somebody the doctor give you the news that, hey, you just tested positive for cancer. We just found cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, you name it. That's going to add even more stress on top of you. And people are right now saying, we don't even know what to do with this. We don't even know how to handle this. The observation of other epidemics or pandemics, when you go back to 2003, and when you start looking at how SARS came through, and SARS is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, when it came through in 2003, then the H1N1 came through in 2009, how it affected people. How do we know that folks that went through all those things aren't still dealing with some of the remnant that was left behind, some of the emotional baggage? Not to mention the Ebola epidemic that came through. So when you think about all those things, it had an impact on a large population when it comes down to mental health. you see. And you can find some of these, this information in the Journal of Anxiety Disorders. So you can pretty much find it, this information that I'm giving you. But let's talk about coping skills. There are positive ways you can deal with this, and there are negative ways you can deal with this. And they both will have an effect on your mental state of being. So let's talk about the positive. Positive coping is associated with better mental health outcomes, while the negative coping is related to the worst mental problems and outcomes. So you gotta kind of like feel your way around on this, because you can easily find yourself doing the negative things that you shouldn't do to deal with these problems. When we talk about positive ways and methods to cope, we want to talk about like doing problem-solving activities. One of the things that I do, and I do it on my phone. I have this app. I got two apps, and one called Lumosity, and it's like a brain training app. And all it's doing is giving you different challenges, but it's working your brain. You solving problems. And it's not about how many you get right, but it's working your brain. And it's helping you to focus on something other than the negative things that you got going on. Another one is called Brain Test. And it's just the same thing, just giving you questions and things like that. You're just trying to sort things. It's all about keeping your brain active, keeping your mind occupied with something other than all of that garbage and all of that mess that's going on that can really be negative and bring you down. You don't want to go through that. And you can seek information as well, like research. Like I hear a lot of people talking about, well, I did my research on this and that. That's a good thing when you go behind, especially when you check behind this coronavirus deal. And you're looking around, you're trying to find other information for it. That is perfect. That just keeps your mind active. Social support. There are church groups. It's no different from someone that's an alcoholic going to AA. You want to go with these groups, sit down, y'all discussing things. You get into problem solving. You get into nice little debates. And it's keeping you focused. It's keeping you focused. There's other things like you can go and get involved with other activities that deals with things that can reduce stress. Like you can go to during the summertime, go swimming if it's allowed. Some of you have swimming pools at home. Do it. Get out there and just relax. These are activities. Go for a walk. Get a partner up with someone that you trust and say, hey, let's just go for a walk. Gear up, wear your mask and everything, and just get out there and walk. Take a little stroll. These things can help change problematic situations. And another thing you could do, go to like a church that feed people on weekends and get involved. You can help feed the homeless. Get involved with something. That's your choice. You don't have to do these things, but look at all the options and pick one. Physical activity. We just talked about walking. Getting enough sleep. Another thing, if you're not getting enough sleep, you need the rest. You need to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. That will help you tremendously when you talk about relaxing and getting rid of stressful feelings and emotions and things like that. Another thing, surround yourself with positive people. Stop hanging with these people that are bringing you down. One thing about me, I would tell you right now, I don't care what people think about me being in school. None of this stuff bothers me. Because when I'm talking to someone, I'm always trying to find people that's motivated doing something. And I'm always looking at videos that will motivate me. YouTube have a ton of videos out there that people put out there that inspire people, motivates them. These are the things you need to listen to. And I haven't mentioned all the good things that you can do as far as coping skills. But let me tell you something. If none of these things working for you, if all else fails, find a professional therapist. Find someone that can refer you to a good therapist. Go and get mental health counseling. I cannot say that enough. You want to pray, but pray on your way to find some mental health counseling. Get some help. You cannot beat this alone. I want you to know that you cannot win this battle alone. Because there are negative ways. When you go into those negative ways, you're going into a downward slope and then it spirals out. And one of them is avoiding people and isolating yourself. When you're feeling bad and you're not really feeling like you don't want to be around people, and this become commonplace in your life where you like, hey, I don't want to deal with nobody, I don't want to go around. When you're a person that used to be out, used to do things and all this stuff, let me tell you something. I know the coronavirus has done a lot to people, but let me tell you, do not avoid doing things like that. Wishful thinking, this will not go away on its own. Remember that. It will not go away on its own, so do not pray and then wish that just because you done prayed, everything going to be all. Go get professional help. Go see a therapist. Get a referral. Find out who's the best. Doesn't matter. Go see somebody. Okay? Not only that, when you keep putting it off and you keep thinking you can deal with it on your own, you start sliding into this area of where you may even try substance. That's when some people turn into alcoholics. They turn into drug abusers. And then things get that bad. Once you get hooked on some type of narcotic or some type of drug that is just too strong for you to resist anymore, then you head to the detox. And you don't want that. Right now, opioids is ripping through America. And the people are on these opioids for many different reasons. But nonetheless, it's hard to get off of them. So stay away from the substance abuse. Go to a counselor before things get too bad. Okay. Early warning signs. We're going to try to wrap this up. Early warning signs. When you notice someone is unusually confused, when you know that person is not a confused person, normally, you need to start asking some questions. And you don't run out and blast that person in front of people. No, you don't. You go and pull that person to the side, catch them at the right time and start asking questions. Do you notice that person seem like they're on the edge? If they're showing a lot of anger and aggression when that person normally don't do that, you need to talk to them as a friend or as a family member. That person stays upset, worried, or even scared. When you know this person is not someone that is normally afraid of stuff, let me tell you something. And they seeing things that is not there, you need to talk to that person. Sleeping way too much now. Instead of getting up in the morning, getting up and getting moving and doing things, that person's still in bed at 11 o'clock a.m. for no reason. Yes, you need to check. Eating disorders. That person now is just packing in on the food, like, just hanging around the house, just eating. This person may stop eating sometimes. It can go the opposite. They can stop. They can shut down. They can just stop eating. May eat one meal or a snack or something and leave it long. And there could be a lot of things going on there. And someone need to reach out to that person. Pulling away from people and doing unusual activities instead of the usual activities that they normally do. but they start doing something totally different that's not good. Check on that person. Your family, your friend. It's not time to go and talk about them behind their back. Go to that person and ask questions. They showing low energy. They feeling like they don't care. Nothing matters anymore. You need to check on that person. And last but not least, if a person is feeling helpless or hopeless and they're thinking about doing harm to themselves and even others, hey, it's time to pull that person aside and say, hey, what's going on? You know, like I say, don't bless people out in front of everybody. Don't do that. It's not the time. And last, and I'm going to say this, you young men out there that's taking these young ladies to these hotels and recording what y'all doing and putting it on social media, it's time to stop that. It's time to grow up and be men. You women out here that's going and, you know, doing all kind of underhanded stuff against men and just trying to make people look bad in public or something like that. You're doing things here. I have seen a live thing on Facebook where a guy shot himself right on Facebook. It was live streamed because his girlfriend started dating another guy and dumped him and did it in a way that it wasn't cool. And he shot himself. He told everybody his girlfriend had just, and he did it right on Facebook. Young women are committing suicide. This is the reason why I say it leads to suicide. Some people cannot handle these changes in their lives, and they're wrestling with it. And then you have other things going on in life with them as well. And it's difficult to deal with. All of these things can push a person to the point where they just give up and throw in the towel. And when you embarrass someone publicly, let me tell you something, they don't want to go back home to their family, especially when they went off to college. They don't want to go back home to their family and have to face that. They don't want to have to face people. It's embarrassing. And everybody cannot handle that. So here's a time where everybody need to, check themselves. Look at the shootings that we're having in America right now. People gunning down folks at work and other places. And a lot of this is contributed to mental health illnesses, depression, emotional disturbances. Just think about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Robbie Williams, your host of Rebirth. And I will hope that you like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's more to come. And let's just learn together. That's what it's all about. Let's just learn together. So, God bless, and I'm out.